Hello everyone, and welcome to a special episode of LostinTranslationmon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
So, today is a year since we released our first episode, so we weren't quite on iTunes yet because we were waiting for iTunes to approve of us, but we had just released episode 1 on SoundCloud.
I can't believe we made it this long.
Yeah, we've done it an entire year. 1 year.
1 year of you not killing me for saying that Digimon isn't the best show that exists.
And 1 year since you started watching Digimon. I guess, yeah. 1 year of you not quitting with Digimon.
1 year of me begrudgingly sticking with it.
So, yeah, we just want to say, thanks for listening, and we hope we can continue to provide, presumably, quality entertainment.
Very high quality.
So, Jay made a cake for our anniversary. Well, not our anniversary. Our anniversary is in September, but the podcast anniversary, where it was my favourite cake. It was an Oreo cheesecake, and I put a LotMon figure on it and an Edramon figure on it, and it was really cute.
And that picture is up on our Facebook right now.
And also, speaking of which, our Patreon supporter, Stevie Patamon, gave us some art, and it's Edramon and LotMon, and it says happy birthday. So that's for the podcast anniversary, and it's very cute, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, Stevie and another Patreon supporter, Sam, have a new podcast, which I mentioned at the end of the last episode, but I hadn't listened to it yet. It's called the Moncast, and they talk about Digimon and Pokemon, and it's really, really good, and I really like it, and yeah, you should definitely listen. It's on iTunes now, and it's good.
But do they talk about it in English and Japanese?
No, they only talk about Pokemon and Digimon in English. In both. But yeah, so if you like Pokemon, or if you grew up with Pokemon and Digimon, that'll be it's a good thing, because I love Pokemon as well. We also commissioned some art from Mesono Jian Herald, which am I saying that? I hope I'm saying that properly.
Can I see the wording?
Like that.
I have no idea.
I'm going to say Mesono Jian Herald, hopefully. That's how I say it. On Tumblr. And we commissioned her to, draw some art of us for a banner and sort of for a Facebook cover photo. And it's got both of us with our Digimon. And we each have our D-Arcs, which is the Digivice from Digimon Tamers, which we're watching in a few weeks. We're almost done with 02.
Oh, thank God.
And we have a Dracomon who evolves into Edramon, and Jay has a LotMon, obviously. And
it also evolves into Edramon, as far as I'm aware.
Probably could. I don't think so, but it could. But yeah, everything should evolve to Edramon because it's the best. And yeah, we really, I'm really happy. I've been meaning to commission Lizmet, who's the artist, and for a long time, and I finally did, and it's just, I'm so happy, and it's really good, high quality art, and I'm really happy. So basically we're going to be talking about our highlights from the past year, and stuff that we want to do, stuff that we want to change, maybe, I don't know, stuff like that. So what about you, Jay? What do you think is your favourite Digimon episode that we've covered?
I still think, and I talked about it last time, I think my favourite episode, because even in a vacuum it was still great, was playing games. It had everything you needed in it, and specifically, there was a Digimon fight that was totally pointless in it, so there was a point against it, but by and large that was in the background, and the primary issue was totally solved with no actual fighting, just with one kid who had a story built up where they weren't very useful, and they had character development, and they became useful, and he sort of figured it out himself, and he worked it out, and he did great.
I agree with you. I think that they also did it well in the English version. It was an episode that wasn't too bad in the English version as well. It was fine. They removed the gun, so they removed the aspect of fear that this psychotic puppet was going to murder this child.
Instead, they introduced that the psychotic murder puppet was scratching its butt.
Yeah, just because it was made out of poison oak. There we are. And yeah, I agree that was probably the best episode of Digimon that we've watched. I do like the last episodes that we watched, though.
They're probably the best in 02, but I think that has to do with they're making up for a lot of the issues in 02 as well, which has been a bit of a problem. And I don't want to downplay the fact that those episodes are good, because they do set up a lot of really good stories about why the kids feel that they need to actually commit to killing Digimon at some stage. It convinces you in different scenarios why it would be reasonable and okay to do that.
And however, also we learn about a bad guy who is a human.
Well, yeah, and I think that's really intriguing. The episodes could have gone a bit further as to saying why he's doing what he's doing, because at this stage we have no idea, right?
Yeah, no, at the stage we have no idea.
I
We
didn't just miss it.
Yeah, no, there's no idea. He just wants kids to be evil, basically.
Excellent.
That's all that's the extent of what we know.
Yeah, but I think this really shows what the previous 3 episodes were missing. In that, like, they're both battles in the real world. They're exactly the same, really. But the Digimon World Tour was just a fight for no reason, and the setting was just a fighting game background. Whereas these ones showed what's different if you fight in the real world, what the stakes are, why it's so much different than just being, in Little Chinatown. In Digital World.
Well, I did like the Digimon World Tour. It did feel sort of...
You shouldn't have liked it.
I felt like they could remove bits and still have put us to the same view across.
They could have removed chunks of it. If it was a person, they could have removed the torso and it would have been fine.
See, I remember when we were doing Adventure, and you said that, the good episodes were when they were in the real world. And now we've had quite a lot of Digimon in the real world. Do you think that it was just Adventure did that well, or do you think just Zero Two does it badly?
I think that Adventure did it pretty well, as one thing, but also it just did a lot less. So
it was special. It was like a unique thing when we got to see the real world and got to see their, like, home relationships. Now it's all we see, really.
Yeah, and also, I don't think the home relationships are incredibly interesting in this one. Like, Yoli has a weird setup with a huge family, and you'd never see it. You don't really get any sense of what's going on. All you know about Davis's parents are that they think he's an idiot.
Yeah, and you know more about his sister than about any other relatives of any other character.
And can you tell me anything about her besides that she wants Matt really bad?
Nope. She's in high school, approximately.
Yeah, so she's a completely one-dimensional character as well, despite how much screen time she's gotten.
See, in Adventure, didn't they flesh out the parents quite well?
I think so.
Like, we had, Sora's mum, who was actually rather complicated. Like, she was this, like, professional flower arranger and, like, had her own business and was concerned about her daughter, and, that was an aspect. And we have the mum, who's just, Ty's mum is, like, she's just the mum, basically. She's a very her and Mimi's mum.
And Drunk Dad.
Yeah, we have Drunk Dad, he's just a Japanese businessman. That's what he is. He's at work all the time. It's fine.
You mean Captain Japan?
We have Matt's dad. We have Mimi's parents, who I think are the best parents.
They're great.
Yeah.
I like them a lot. And there's Izzy's parents, who can be very closely aligned with Ken's parents as characters.
Yeah.
I think Ken's parents are the ones who actually get a character.
Oh, yeah, in Zero Two, yeah.
And you can see them, and you can see their actions, you go, I get why they did that, because of this.
Yeah.
Everyone else, either we haven't met them, I don't think... We've seen Iori's parents? We've seen his grandfather.
We've seen his grandfather, and I think we've seen his mum once. But, like... And we know that his dad's, dead.
The grandfather's a good character.
Yeah, the grandfather and Mimi's parents are my favourite. And I like Kent's parents as well, because they're being very rational. Like, they're saying, hey, kid, we're worried about you.
Yeah, Yoli and Davis get nothing. Have we ever seen Matt and TK's mom?
Yeah, she was in the last episode, and she said...
I remember this only now.
Yeah. Oh, TK, you're not involved with Digimon, are you? And she's the reporter. She also spoke to Oikawa.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
She's alright.
Yeah, like, she has a career, and she's... And, and the dad has also the career, and they're like journalists, and...
My next question for you, which was the stupidest question of my entire life, was, have we met Kari's parents?
Oh. Yeah, no, to be fair, I understand, because I think maybe in Zero Two it feels like they're distant more from Tai, because, he's not there all the time. He's not saying, did you know that Kari's my sister? Yes, but did you know that Kari's my sister?
I wonder who the 8th chosen child is.
Ken.
So...
Matt's dad.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, it's weird that Yoli gets nothing. Like, that she has a big family, and it's clear there's stuff going on there, and it never focuses on it at all. And neither with Davis, who's your new main character. His parents don't show up until they call him a moron.
Yeah, except when they call him a moron a few times.
And then they stop showing up.
What do you think was the best episode of the podcast we've ever done?
I don't remember them all.
I think the last episode was actually probably one of the best episodes of the podcast that we did. But judging by the responses to the survey, people really enjoyed us covering Hurricane Touchdown.
Right, I can see that.
Yeah, and I don't really remember it fully, and I don't remember because after recording, and then after editing, I'll be like, oh, this was a really good episode, or that was an okay episode, or oh wow, we didn't really put as much like oomph into that episode as we could have. which I always feel if it's anything less than fantastic. But that's just me. I really worry our episode 1 was really bad though.
To be honest though, I loved episode 1. I think that like that's one that really sticks out to me as fun. Because I still remember a lot of the jokes that I would have made, and I remember enjoying like typing stuff down, making commentary on it. I think I was a bit spoiled with the prologue movie because that thing is consistent. It's not necessarily the best thing that's ever been made as a piece of media, but consistently stuff happens you can talk about that is kind of interesting, and also it breaks a lot of its own rules about Digimon. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
What's the best thing that's ever come out of Digimon that you've seen so far? Be it a Digimon, a character, an episode, a movie, whatever. Like, the thing that came out of Digimon, even if it's just a design, and you said, yes, I like that. That is a good thing. It can be anything.
God, that's quite difficult.
Because mine is, like, our war game. Also Mimi's parents.
Our war game is probably the best piece of media because it can stand alone, and I don't think you need to have watched anything else to really get it.
Yeah.
Can I say Summer Wars?
That doesn't count. That's just our war game.
Are you sure?
That's just our war game.
Yeah, but it's better.
Yeah, it's our war game with that Digimon. I knew you'd like it.
It's so much better. They've got a cool family and a badass grandma.
Oh, the grandma's so good.
To kill somebody.
The grandma actually reminds me of a character who is in another season of Digimon who I think you'll like. She's also a grandma.
If I was...
It's Ruki's grandma.
I was having an off day, I'd say Lady Devimon was the best thing that came out of this. But I think just the concept of the digital world, I really like the idea of parallel worlds in that sense, especially one that's visceral, that you can like affect because it's digital. I'm still looking forward to, I know we kind of touched on it with Ken, but I think it's because of the Dark Seed and everything. Instead, I want to see someone who's like, who's stated to be a programmer. That's what they do, and that's why they can affect the digital world in various ways. The fact that none of the kids have gone, what if I just learned to code, really bothers me at this point, actually.
Well, I feel like that Izzy was setting up to be that character in the first season, but they just sort of drop it.
Because he was inside the battery.
Yeah.
And he touched the digicode. Whatever happened to that? We've never seen any digicode ever again.
Nope.
And it's such a core and like integral part of that world.
Maybe we'll see more in Try. Though, from, like, because you've only seen Try Chapter 1 at this stage, and, you know, he builds that sort of digital world where they go into a screen. It's like a virtual reality that Digimon can enter. That's pretty cool.
I thought that was just a gateway to the digital world.
I thought it was just a room or a box. I thought it was just a virtual server or something, like a virtual machine or something.
I was pretty sure it was just another gateway.
I think that's cool, though. But I would really like to see him, because he could probably just program stuff. I mean, we haven't really seen many people altering the digital world, besides, I guess, the Digimon Emperor.
Yeah, but at the same time, he had a connection to it that was not necessarily one that was coding.
Yeah, and it wasn't normal.
Yeah, because also he had a Digivice, which arguably was the primary method of change.
Yeah.
Which also begs the question of, like, what are the actual limitations of a Digivice? I don't think I think a reasonable kid in the situation would have gone, wait, how was he doing that? Maybe we can do that.
I'm surprised no one's tried to take it apart, because there's always, you know, the kid who takes apart everything electronic. Just, even if it breaks, they want to just do it.
I'm really shocked that Izzy never did that.
Yeah, he never, you know, we never saw a screen where he tried to take a screwdriver to it and he got electrocuted or something happened. He never, like, I would have liked to see that.
It makes sense if it was indestructible. I would not be bothered by that at all. Just, yeah, no one ever tried.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen someone try. Digimon Adventure try. You know something I feel like they should have, that's in Digimon, that's something that's just not spoken about much? The random stuff that's in the first season of Digimon.
Like which?
Like, the trolley car that's just there, the phone lines in the desert, the phone booths on the beach, the fridge with the eggs, like all these random things from the real world that are just there.
I totally forgot the eggs in the fridge. Because I always remember, like, there's big objects and stuff in there, that's just what they are. And yeah, but sometimes there's actually, like, eggs. That's something that not only do I think that they should have touched on more, because there's got to be something to that. Especially, I mean, is that official art on your wall there? I don't really remember.
That's official.
Okay, so the thing about that being official art is that we're looking at the art where it's the trolley from Adventure, but timed forward to all the kids being old, and now there's all this stuff growing around it, and the stuff in the background is rusted. That implies that in season 1 it was all fresh, right?
Yeah.
That means it had to have freshly gotten there, because if it was old when they got there, it would already be rusted out. So it had gotten there within a couple of years of them showing up.
Though, you know what's weird? Like, from when they first saw it in episode 3 to when they saw it in the last episode, it was fine in the last episode, but actually the most amount of time that will ever pass is between the first episode and the last episode, because that's when time moved slowly. And it was months and months and months, but no time in the real world. So I think the most amount of time ever was probably there, maybe.
Well, then it'd been a couple years.
And then a
in
couple
real
more,
life,
and then
which
a couple more years in real life. So maybe it like had a few years and it was fine, but then a few years after that, and it completely, I don't know. I'm just reminded of the last scene in Spirited Away, where it's really scary if you think about it, because you don't know how long has actually passed between they were in the Spirited Away world or whatever. Do you ever just think about that?
I don't really.
Oh, I think about it all the time. Like, you don't know how, like, if it's 100 years has passed since she entered the gate. I don't know. Spirited Away's a good movie.
I don't think it's relevant how long they've been away, really. It doesn't matter. It's not the point.
It's spoopy.
I just think it's sad that, like, she has this whole adventure and then it's just done forever.
Yeah, and she has, like, a crush on the dragon.
Then the river.
The river dragon.
Spoilers!
I'm pretty sure everyone's seen that movie.
Rosebud is a sled.
Oh, yeah. It was his sled. That's a trope. Anyway, so another episode that people seem to have liked from the survey responses was the April Fool's Day episode, which I'm really glad.
You're really glad because there's no more Dogmons and we can't actually do a sequel.
Like, I would have been kind of disappointed if we had done that and people were like, oh, okay, I guess. I'm glad that people had reactions to like, oh, what? The early episode is only 18 minutes? Oh, that's fine. At least they're trying. And then it turns out to be a joke. And the real episode came out normal time anyway.
Do we know if that's actually how people reacted? Or they were like, it's April Fool's and there's a short episode. It's a joke.
No. I was speaking to some people about it. And they're like, oh, you guys are so good. You guys are doing the episode. Well done. I'm like, yes, we are.
Sure we did. Uh-huh.
And
then we did a real episode. I couldn't even believe that myself.
Yeah.
And I was there.
But I'm really glad that people liked us, because we do put quite a lot of time into these episodes. Like, we record them and, you know, we prepare our notes for each week. We watch the episodes. And I'm really glad that people appreciate that. Like, it would be pretty sad if, you know, we're putting all this time into it and we had, like, you know, no one was listening and no one was enjoying what we were producing.
And we went from, I think it was, we had 10 listeners originally on the first one.
Yeah.
Then we got up to our first 100. It was a big deal. Like, yeah, we got 100.
Yeah.
And now we're like 500.
I think each episode averages about 300, which, you know, it's not like, you know, the really popular podcast that
But we
gets
know
millions
people are
of
catching
listeners.
up as well.
Yeah, and we know that we're getting more listeners. I'm hoping that they're not stopping at the first episode, because I always will worry that was not a great episode, because it was the first time that we'd ever podcast. We didn't really, like, I think we got a few facts wrong in, like, the first few episodes.
And then I was there.
Jay was there. But I think we've come a long way, and
yet I'm still here.
Yeah, and you're still here. And we're really happy, and we hope to continue to improve. As I said in the last episode, we're going to be shortening Postmon Pat, and I'm going to continue to read the suggestions in the survey, because, you know, it's just good to have a survey up. So if you haven't participated in that, I am still reading the results. And yeah, other ones are like, you know, some people have given us how long each section should be, which is good, because for most part we hit those tasks, but it's like those time frames. But people always say Postmon Pat's a bit long, and so that's the one I'm going to be shortening. We're going to try and talk about the episodes more. And yeah, do you think there's anything we could change and add to the show? Or
have we considered reviewing a different show?
Wrestling?
All right.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll have a wrestling podcast called WWTF.
Are you sure we can't just end there and have it trail off with John Cena's theme?
It's not April Fool's. It's not April Fool's.
No, but we did the 20 minutes.
I swear I had more questions. So, like, this time next year, we'll be finished with 02.
Yes.
We'll be finished with Tamers.
Okay.
We'll be, like, near the end, like, half of Frontier. What do you think you're going to say in a year from now? Hopefully you're still on the show.
Well, probably about 7 months from now, you're going to give a really touching speech at my funeral. And you'll say, look, there was a plot hole, and he couldn't handle it. And then he had, like, 17 strokes all at once.
He saw Rio. He couldn't handle it.
And the Rio episode, which he had so much faith in, that would tie it all together and make all of it make sense, just asked too many questions. This is really a Rio episode! I thought you were lying! Why are you giving me this face?
I'm giving you the face because that's the only face that I know.
God, I'm gonna die, aren't I?
Yeah.
I've predicted my own death.
So yeah, Jay made a really good cake. I put my figurines on it. I shared it with my mum and my dad.
You're
It was
so
really
generous.
good. And Jay should share the recipe because it's a really good recipe. Do you want to talk about the cake, Jay?
Is this like that bit in Portal where if you steal one of the cores, it just starts giving a cake recipe?
I tried to write that down because I thought it was a legitimate recipe, and then it says like
Fish
resin.
biscuits.
And I was like, the fish biscuits, they might give a texture or whatever, or like a theme to the outside. And then she says, 3/4 bag resin.
What a good computer.
Fluid. Like, oh, this is probably a joke. Fish flavored fish. I think this might be a joke. Fish flavored resin. Oh, it's a joke. I think.
Wait, it took you till then to conclude it was probably a joke.
No, I was there. I was writing it. I was like, yes,
Fish-flavoured
possibly.
resin.
Fish flavored flish. Flish.
Flish.
Flish.
Flishmon.
But yeah, so thanks for listening, and even if you just, if you started listening while, it's 6 months after we've released this episode, or if you're listening, 3 years in the future or 4 years in the future, and we're not on to Digimon anymore, and we're comparing the Cardcaptor Sakura dub and the sub, or the Sailor Moon dub and the sub, and it's Lost in Translation Moon, and
It's a great one.
to be fair, you've never watched Sailor Moon, so that could have the same premise. But yeah, so thanks for listening. If you've been with us the whole time, or you've only started listening in 2018 or what have you, just thanks. If you're listening to this, thanks, thank you.
And we'll see you next year.
And the show notes, there's not really much show notes. I'll be linking the art that I mentioned, which was the fan art from Stevie, and our commissioned art from Mayor Sono, Jean Herald, and the picture of the cake. And thanks to our Patreon supporters, Stevie Patamon, who you can follow at StevieMon on Twitter. And they host a podcast with another Patreon supporter, Sam Krieger. It's called The Moncast, and they talk about Pokemon and Digimon. It's pretty great. Wu Qinglong, who you can follow at twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong. So that's WUQINGLONG. Metal Marmimon, Joe, Penguin Mage, Anime Guy, who you can follow on YouTube, Anime Guy Kurosaki, and then the number 1. Chakmon, Ishpul Banba, Hiro Alato, who's Hirolato on Twitter, Jason Morosky, and Martika, who you can follow at Frost Mr. Rajic on Twitter. But that also might be Marajic. I might be missaying that. So that's FROSTMRAJICK. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys for our normal episode, and just thanks for listening to us. See you guys next time.
Bye.